Shadow Minister James Wilde.
Thank you very much, Mrs Harrison. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I congratulate the Honourable Member for Camborne and Redruth on securing this important debate. As he set out, critical minerals are essential for our transition away from fossil fuels, and whilst offering economic opportunities in areas where extraction is undertaken, such as Cornwall. I remember many family holidays to Cornwall. Coming from Norfolk, we did have to get away sometimes, but I remember visiting Poldark Tin Mine and enjoying visits there, which I believe is in the constituency of the Honourable Member for St Ives. So clearly a lot of focus has been on Cornwall, but as has also been mentioned, this is an opportunity for across the country, and the International Energy Agency has stated that the world in 2040 is expected to need 4 times as many critical minerals for clean energy technologies as it does today. So as a nation, we need the right materials if we're to make that clean energy transition. We need the lithium, cobalt and graphite for the batteries for electric vehicles, for silicon and tin for our electronics, and rare earth metals for electric cars and wind turbines. And whilst we will always rely on international supply chains rightly, we have to maximise where the UK can produce domestically and make our supply chains more resilient, which will, as has been said, boost our energy and national security. And that strong case for increasing domestic production of minerals has been made here today by the Honourable Member for Strangford, as well as the Honourable Member for Newquay and St Austell, who particularly referred to the importance of skills, and I hope he'd also acknowledge the work that his predecessor, Steve Double, did in pushing this agenda within the last Parliament. The Honourable Member for Bournemouth East, I admire his passion to go faster and more furious. I wonder if his constituents perhaps will share that when they aren't seeing the £300 cut in energy bills that was promised, and they're just seeing pylons, particularly in my constituency and across the east of England, being imposed on communities without proper consultation. But we are moving to a world where, powered by critical minerals, and demand is increasing. Indeed, the UK's critical minerals strategy, which the Honourable Gentleman referred to, that was published in 2022, stated global demand for electric vehicle battery minerals projected to increase by up to 13 times over the next decade or so, exceeding the rate at which new primary and secondary sources are being developed. The UK has 18 metals and minerals on its critical raw minerals list, and another 6 classified as having elevated criticality. And China is the biggest producer of 12 of those minerals. Yet, despite offering significant deposits of lithium, particularly in Cornwall, alongside tin, manganese and tungsten across the south west of England and Cumbria, Wales and Scotland, we are almost wholly dependent on critical minerals for imports, as has been mentioned. And many of the UK's vital sectors rely on those minerals, which is why last year we launched a task and Finnish group on industry resilience, particularly focusing on aerospace, energy, automotive and chemicals and other sectors. And when we were in government, we adopted a comprehensive approach to critical minerals and engaged readily with our foreign partners, with our allies, as well as with industry. And that's why we published the first ever critical minerals strategy, which was then refreshed last year, just to reflect the changing global landscape and the pace of change we need to see. And in partnership with the British Geological Survey, we launched the Critical Minerals Intelligence Centre, which helped monitor the supply chain risks and also assesses the importance of different minerals over time, a point made by the Honourable Gentleman as well. We also ramped up work through the Critical Imports Council in April this year. So there is, to be fair, I would say, quite a lot for this government to build on. And we know that critical mineral supply chains are complex and vulnerable to disruption, and production is centred and highly concentrated in certain countries. In some cases, single nations are responsible for half of worldwide production, and they are often vulnerable to aggressive debt regimes implemented by states with which the UK directly competes. The level of concentration is even higher for processing operations. China's share of refining is about 35% for nickel, 50 to 70% for lithium and cobalt, and around 90% for rare earth elements. All these issues present challenges to the UK's security of supply, so we must accelerate growth of the UK's domestic capabilities. And that's why we need to back UK critical mineral producers to take advantage of opportunities along the whole length of the value chain. Cornish Lithium, in the honourable gentleman's constituency is enjoying successes in extracting lithium from granite. Weardale Lithium is also exploring the potential for lithium extraction and geothermal energy from water. Green Lithium, I think, has also been referred to, plans to build and operate the first UK merchant lithium refinery in Teesside. So those opportunities are around the country. And the UK is also well placed to lead on midstream processing, including the refinery and materials manufacturing, building on the globally competitive chemicals and metal sectors that we enjoy. And that's why the previous government invested in critical minerals programmes and also explored regulatory mechanisms to promote battery, waste electricals and equipment recycling. As of April, there were 50 projects at various stages of development to mine, process and recycle critical minerals domestically. And the UK is a pioneer, particularly in recovering critical minerals from waste, and companies such as Altilium, with operations in Plymouth, are working to develop battery recycling capabilities to extract the raw materials that can re-enter the supply chain. And this will become increasingly important. By 2040, recycling is expected to account for up to 20% of battery mineral demand for electric vehicles. The critical minerals will become ever more important over time as we seek to bolster our energy security and domestic resilience. One specific area around demand is about electric vehicles, as has been referred to by the Honourable Member for Bournemouth East. In government, we took the decision to push back some of those targets, including for ending the sale of new petrol and diesel cars from 2030 to 2035, bringing us in line with the major car manufacturing countries around the world. Yet this government has tied itself in knots in its policy around mandates. So perhaps the Minister can provide some clarity on what the government policy is to help address uncertainty now facing supply chains, including those in the critical minerals sector. I would give way.
I go to the Honourable Gentleman mentioning Weardale Lithium, which is in my constituency. We also have Northern Lithium. One of the drawbacks at the moment for those companies that are trying to invest in lithium is that the regulatory framework actually is not supportive. They're talking about two-year waits for the Environment Agency for planning to enable them to do what they're doing. And may I also just gently say that Nissan in Sunderland were not at all happy that their plan was that they already had a plan in place to hit the 2030 target for electric vehicles, and they're going to stick to their original plan, but they want a government that's going to match their ambition.
I'm grateful to the honourable gentleman, and forgive me, I didn't realise it was in his constituency, otherwise I would have acknowledged that. I think he's absolutely right in terms of the issues we face on a regulatory side. Every MP who deals with companies will know the difficulties that the Environment Agency bring them and the slowness of decision-making and the lack of certainty that there can be in place. I think different car manufacturers have different views in this country alone. I acknowledge the point that Nissan have made, but other companies within this country have taken a different view. And the honourable gentleman for Campbell and Redruth, who secured the debate, said we need to elevate the importance of this issue. We need to put it at a much higher profile. And I don't disagree, although I would say that we have set out quite a strong foundation for doing that. And given the centrality of this issue, I have to say I was surprised that there was only one passing reference to critical minerals in the government's industrial strategy published a month ago. This is supposed to be the government's blueprint for growth, and we've all talked about how important this is, but there was a passing reference in one sentence in that document. So is this really the priority for the government? I hope we'll have some reassurance from the Minister on that. And finally, we've just had a budget that has seen business confidence plummet as a result. And whilst there's an abundance of minerals in the ground, especially in areas across the country which need investment, that need more jobs, does the Minister recognise the damage that's been done to the UK's attractiveness to investment as a result of the measures in that budget? And apparently the Minister is going to announce that next year the government will launch a critical mineral strategy. Wow. Given the importance, why is there the lack of urgency from the government to do that? It joins a long list of other consultations and commitments that will come in a year. They've had 14 years to get ready, but seemingly aren't. Industry needs certainty about what the plan is to ensure that our critical mineral supply chains are strong, sustainable and resilient for now and for many years to come. And let's hope the Minister can offer them that security.